On today's show, it's a fun Friday spectacular, which means we've got a special guest, and that is Karthik Venkataraman of CBS 8 Sports San Diego to talk about his big question for the Padres. One big question. What's it going to be? Even I don't know. Also, a little bit of an update on the Luis Arráez Civil War and previewing the pitching matchups against the Minnesota Twins this weekend. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Padres, your daily San Diego Padres podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Padres podcast, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for Friday, August 29th. As always, I'm your host with sometimes the most, Javier Reyes, and I've been covering this team for almost 6 years now, for not just this podcast, but also various other outlets, including justbaseball.com, chief among them. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. You can check me out on Twitter/X and Blue Sky at Javipeno, Javiipeno. I kind of lied. I'm taking a social media break, but you can still check out my beautiful little Stitch picture on there if you would like to. I know that my guest for today's show has seen the adorable little Stitch, and that is my buddy Karthik Venkataraman, CBS 8 Sports San Diego, doing all the good stuff, talking to all the Padres player, being a superstar out there. He's been on the show before. But Karthik, my man, how you doing?
You know, sometimes the guest still with sometimes the best, man. That's how I'm still doing. I'm just trying to do my best out here, and Padres in the thick of it right now, man. NL West, NL wild card, playoffs are coming. Time to get hyped, man.
Did you come up with that just now? Guests with sometimes the best?
I said it the last time on your show.
Oh, you did? Okay, I can't remember for sure.
I'm trying to make it a common theme, so maybe the people remember me.
No, I love it. Absolutely. This is perfect. This is really good. Everybody, though, today's episode, we are talking about one big question for the team. Thought it'd be a little fun thing. What has Karthik got? What is he going to surprise me and blow my mind? Whatever is going to happen there. Talk a little bit about his thoughts at Luis Arráez, because you're a little bit closer, I think, to this whole thing, and it really has been a more evolving storyline for this team, especially over the last 2 weeks, that Mike Shildt himself has responded to a bunch of times. And then we'll talk about a little bit of pitching matchups this weekend against the Twins. So, my friend, all the pleasantries are out of the way. What is your big question for the Padres? We're about a month away. We've got 29 or so games or 30 games left of the regular season. What is kind of the big thing, storyline question for you right now, given everything that's happened lately?
I've kind of got two questions, but I feel like that's cheating. So I'm going to go with the first one first, because I feel like the second question kind of leads into what we were talking about a second
Save
ago.
the second one for the post credits.
So we'll start with question numero uno from me. All right.
Okay.
Question numero uno from me is, can the Padres get and stay healthy? Michael King being injured right now, he comes back and everyone's so excited. Okay, time to get ramped up, get right by September. We'll hit the playoffs. Michael King will be right. The inflammation problem comes up in his leg and his knee, and he's not, he's not going simulated games, but we're not there. Jackson Merrill, he's had such an unlucky break, hamstring, concussion, you name it, sprained ankle. It's been a bummer, because it's just like a lot of these have just been freak. Like the concussion, he gets swiped across the head going into second. Freak accident. Sprained ankle, just kind of tweaks it coming out of the box, and it's kept him out for quite some time. Kind of a freak accident. And it's just like that kind of unluckiness cannot happen for the Padres, because playoff time is almost here. So my question is, can they get healthy and stay healthy? Because Michael King, we know what Michael King's about. Now with this bullpen, if the Padres can get really healthy with their starting pitchers and they have a solid 3-4 guys going into the postseason, it makes it look different. Everything is about pitching in the postseason. With this bullpen, they're in prime position to not give up a lot of runs if a guy like Michael King can get healthy, return to form, be that guy that goes 5 or 6 innings deep in a game. Jackson Merrill's that extra bat power. But like, if they can't get these guys healthy and stay healthy, it's an issue.
I absolutely agree in a lot of ways, especially in regards to Michael King. And frankly, he's not technically injured, but Yu Darvish, it's not that he's injured like he's got to get healthy, but he's still like okay. It's like Han Solo in A New Hope, like, all right, baby, hold together, like, please. And also, he hasn't been going that deep into games. So part of me is wondering, like, is he just not built up yet? So a different type of health, I think, with Yu Darvish. But here's I think a little bit wider lens for me is, last year the Padres were remarkably healthy. And in sports, in my opinion, usually you got to be careful for that because like you see it in football all the time. We talked about that off camera. Like football, you the best teams, they got to stay healthy and all those things, right? Especially in that sport. It also is true in baseball. And sometimes if you have a lot of good injury luck, the baseball gods strike you down. And I think that we've been more fortunate than some other teams, right? I think that there's been some other teams in the sport that have just been hammered with injuries. But the Padres have had just a surplus of just random. The Jackson Barrel thing, I forgot about the one where he just got tagged and got a concussion that way.
Wacky, man.
It really wacky. They have this bone bruise. It's like he's had everything, and it's been really unfortunate for him, especially because every time it looks like, all right, he's had a down season. All right, he's having the classic sophomore slump, right? It's the biggest cliche of all time, right? But he has been having a sophomore slump this year. And then you're like, oh, wait, hold on. He's hitting more line drives. Okay, here we go. The hard hit rate's going up. Oh, okay. He's got some big hit. And then something weird happens like every time. So I do feel for the kid, and I think he's going to be back, hopefully with a vengeance. And it's going to be important, especially because we're going to have to see how this lineup, I think, pans out. But yeah, man, I agree. Michael King, please be healthy, especially because this rotation just has a lot of questions right now, right? I'm hopeful they can get over the finish line and still make the playoffs, but Dylan Cease has been atrocious this year, and I just don't trust him anymore. I don't think anyone does. Frankly, I feel like I gave him a longer leash than I probably should have, right? But that's the big question for the Padres. But sneak in that other one, I'll let you, just because.
It's going to lead into the other question, man. It's just like, can the Padres figure out their lineup? We're having this debate all of a sudden. 28 games left till the playoffs of who should bat where and who should be where, and should Ramon Laureano still be in the bottom of the lineup? These aren't conversations you should be having with 28 games left. And the offense has been doing fine after the All-Star break.
Yeah.
I think they ranked top 10 and, runs scored, as we record this thing. But, for me, it's just like, we're 28 games away. You have a 162 game season. We're 28 games away. We're still trying to figure out who should hit where, which is fine in some regards because because it's the Padres have a good problem, right? They have those bats now to where maybe they're able to move stuff, and you got to find the right order, and you're trying things. Luis Arráez doesn't play in the last one. He comes into pinch hit. What will be that moving forward? We'll talk about more of that here in a bit. But I think my bigger question is, can they get it figured out? The most optimal batting lineup for this team to produce the most runs, to get guys in scoring position consistently and bring them home. Can they find that magic? I'm telling you, the Padres have the pieces. It's now, can they get healthy, and can they figure out how to manage it right in time for the postseason to catch fire and go hot?
That is absolutely going to be the question. And especially, I like the way you phrased it. Like, why are we still having lineup questions? But folks, we are having lineup questions, and we got to talk about one.
That's what happens when you make a mastermind full of deals at the trade deadline, Javi.
It is indeed. So, hey, it's a good problem to have. But there are problems that the Padres have had, especially this week, that I've talked about on my show, that we got to talk about because you're closer to it. You're closer to the people. You walk outside the studio. You instantly teleport to Gaslamp. You're a man of the people, my guy Karthik. And we got to talk about that in just 1 second. But first, I got to talk to you guys about one of our sponsors, and that is Upside, folks. Are you still paying full price for gas? Oh, you fool, you simple-minded fool. Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited promo code SEASON and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You can make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. That's great. It's like literally just helping you out with something you already do. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or even an e-gift card, or for Amazon and other brands, all that sort of stuff. Don't let this offer drive on by. See what I did there? Download the free Upside app now using my limited time promo code SEASON for a limited time 25-cent per gallon bonus. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. And also, not necessarily an ad, just a little thing for you guys, a little bonus, a little survey. We have an important request for you at Locked On. We want to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't. Maybe you don't like my hair? You could probably answer that on the survey and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. And everyone who completes a survey will be answered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us good old pals at Locked On out. And just like that, everybody, we are back thriving and vibing. It's the second segment of this show with my man, Karthik. He is doing great. He's smiling. He's excited about this weekend series. But you brought up Luis Arráez, your second question, right? What is the lineup? We talked about the health of the Padres. Can they get two really important major players on this team healthy? Luis Arráez, man, I kind of want to just let you go and just say, what is it like? Like, I'm actually wondering, like, you've been around the team a little bit more than I have because well, literally are closer to them than I am in a lot of ways geographically. But I think that this has been something that's really been blowing up lately with this team is, should Luis Arraez be moved down the lineup? Should someone be moved up in the lineup? Where should they be playing O'Hearn? All these things. And like you said before, like kind of a weird thing to be trying to figure out this late into the season. But nonetheless, that's what happens, like you mentioned, when you have just the hash slinging slasher of GMs who brings in all this new stuff to bring you value, right? Because Luis Arraez batting second or batting anywhere was not an issue before, because you're like, well, what do you want to do? Have Marty Maldonado bat second? Like, they didn't really have the depth to do it, but now it's a question. So what are you hearing? What is your kind of vibe about the situation?
Yeah, I feel like social media is torn. I feel like sports radio in this market is torn. Everyone's talking about Luis Arraez and where he should go. And it is wild. I mean, like, because like if you look at his stats, you look at the RBIs created, I believe he has as many or more than he did with the Padres last year, with still 28 games to go. His batting average is lower than what we're used to seeing. He's not going to win the batting title unless he gets a hit every single at bat that he moves forward with, in these final 28 games. So that's kind of out the window. He's batting sub 300 for the first time in a couple of seasons. His OPS is dropped a little. I think like the bigger thing is like he's just not been as consistent as maybe we're used to seeing Luis Arraez, coming straight out of the gates. He was slow like he has been. And then he all of a sudden picked it up and everyone's like, oh, yep, that's the Luis Arraez that we know. And, they don't really say anything about it. He dips a little bit. People bring up the conversation. His batting average and whatnot rises the following month. Things start to die down. Maybe they go after a guy like Xander Bogaerts instead. And then, he's been on these ebbs and flows, but this is the same guy last month that was batting over 300. I think he had a batting average of 323. And what's beautiful about Luis Arraez, why have Padres fans come to love him, is because he hits, he gets on base, he doesn't strike out, he always makes contact with the ball, so he's running up with the pitchers. They just haven't been seeing it at that clip lately. And with this offense going, and I think there is frustration to some extent because, he's had a lot of at-bats, but he's not with runners in scoring position. He hasn't driven home a bunch of RBIs or anything like that. And I think that it can be a little tough for fans, but also, this Padres offense is doing fine, and Arraez has had some good moments so far this year. It's hard, but I don't know. Where would you move him down in the lineup? He's not a guy who like slugs a lot. I think like the reason why he's at the top of the lineup is because Tatis has been great at getting on base. Theoretically, Luis Arraez is supposed to be good on getting on base. And then now you got guys like Manny Machado, Ryan O'Hearn, Jackson Merrill. If you're throwing Gavin Sheets into the lineup, and I guess you don't, if Luis Arraez is playing and Jackson Merrill's healthy. But it's just like you have these guys that would then potentially be able to bring in two guys who are theoretically supposed to be consistently getting on base, which is what you want. Guys on base. So a guy like Manny Machado can come up, potentially hit a double and bring them both home. Like that is the goal. And, I think you move them down to the bottom of the lineup where I wouldn't say they struggle, obviously, with Ramon Laureano. I know he batted in the 2 spot the other day with Arraez out, but, he's been at the bottom of the lineup there. And I feel like the bottom of the lineup's been churning. So I'm like, why would you want to tinker with that when the bottom of the lineup, you're talking about Laureano, Cronenworth, and when Fermin's in there, and even Elias Diaz the other day against the Dodgers was able to, hit a home run. And it's you got production there at the bottom of the lineup. So I don't want to move Arraez down to the bottom of the lineup when the bottom of the lineup's been playing well. You can't I don't think it makes sense to put him in the middle of the lineup. So it's either you keep him at the top of the lineup or you're talking about benching him. And I don't think benching him is really the thing. I mean, if Mike Schilt wouldn't bench Xander Bogaerts, I can guarantee you he's not going to bench Luis Arraez. So these become all the questions, because your options are you keep him at the top of the lineup because that's what makes, in my opinion, the most sense, or you put him on the bench and you're going to have Gavin Sheets as your DH on a more consistent basis and Ryan O'Hearn plays first. Those are your options.
Look, people who have been listening to my show this week, they've seen me rant about Luis Arraez, and I can't stand him. Not in a bad, personal way. I think that Luis Arraez, I do like what you did bring up, though, which is streakiness. And that is an important thing that I think if Arraez wasn't as streaky this year, because he's had games where he hits 340, I'm like, okay, finally, he's back. No thumb injury this year. He got that repaired. Then, like you mentioned before, he did hit 323 in the month of July, but this month, 233. And I think the other thing, and I've talked about this a lot this week, so everybody can go look at my other episodes. I think what I'd leave you with, Karthik, is that if you look at players across baseball who have hit second for all other teams, especially for, in this case, it is a potential playoff team for the Padres. Luis Arraez is third in Major League Baseball with plate appearances, batting second in the order. Do you know who else is there? Bobby Witt Jr. So Luis Arraez's OPS batting second this year is 708. Just to give you an idea, which is not the best. Mookie Betts is 709 because he's having a bad year. 883 from Rafael Devers. 855 from Bobby Witt Jr. 852 from Kyle Tucker. Nolan Shanuel. Do you know who that is?
No.
Exactly. I barely do either, right? Shout out Nolan Shanuel. I'm not trying to be mean though. That was mean. I don't mean to give it a stray to my
You gave him a shout out on the show. It's good enough.
Yeah.
Come on.
There you go. 743 OPS for him. 774 from Gleyber Torres. 831 from James Wood. 925 from Kyle Schwarber. Juan Soto, 865. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., 788. Julio Rodriguez, 751. Finally, Matt McClain, who is 13th in Major League Baseball with plate appearances, batting second with a 610 OPS. But then you've got Ketel Marte. He's 968. Brandon Lowe, 841, 751, 76. So basically what I'm trying to say is I don't understand why we can't try something new. To put it nicely, everyone could go check out my opinions. A lot of people are probably smiling right now listening to this show. But my thing is this, let's try it. And more importantly, this, Luis Arraez in his career has actually performed worse batting second than the other parts of the lineup. He's batted fifth before, and he's been pretty effective every now and then. Right. And I do think an Arraez at his best is good. I don't necessarily think that the guy needs to be benched, but I do think it's worth exploring the possibility that maybe a guy who has these at bats where he swings at some bad pitches, doesn't give Tatis the opportunity to steal. Right. And more importantly, I think that he's a guy that just give him a second. Let's give him a bench opportunity. Let him stop. Like, he hasn't done anything that suggests, you brought up Xander Bogaerts before. Xander Bogaerts was like a 6-win player. Like, that was a guy who hit 290 for years. He's hit, 90 RBIs before. Like, he has a little bit more of a resume. I think Arraez at his best can be lethal. I think he's one of those players that stats do not track everything that he does, but he hasn't been at his best. Not for a while with this Padres team. So for me, I just say, you know what? And you know what I think the other thing has been? The zombie or statue pitch. I don't know which term we want to go with yet. We've been having that debate on this show. Just looking at the pitch, not even pretend to swing at it for strike two. And I'm looking at it like, well, the pitchers know you're not going to strike out, which is cool. We like that. The pitchers also know you're not going to walk. So they say, let me just throw something all the way in New Jersey. And they know he's going to swing at it. Can he turn it into a hit? Sure. But he has not been this year. So I think it's a unwillingness by the team to try anything is what I think is the biggest issue. I would put him 5 or 6. You could even talk me into him batting fourth. No, maybe not fourth, but third, right? But Ryan O'Hearn, that guy's a 370 on base guy. He has a decent average and he can get on base. So my thing is, let's just try some new things, because once we get to postseason, I don't want to try new things when it's 3 days left before the postseason, right? And then all of a sudden we have a new lineup. We have a month left. Give it a week and a half. And then maybe if it works, we could try it out. But Mike Schultz, the manager of the team, and not me, folks. And let me tell you, this weekend, we're going to see whether or not they have Luis Arraez back in the lineup in the number 2 spot, especially with Jackson Merrill out. And that's the thing. Minnesota Twins, not the best team. Can the Padres beat them? I guess we'll have to see. And we're going to have to talk about that for sure. But folks, before we talk about it, let me talk to you about a very cool sponsor, because most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives like my man Karthik. He can't be running around thinking about all these things. He's a busy man. He's a superstar in San Diego. So if you put off organizing your finances, I'm not saying Karthik has, but Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. You can maximize your investments, increase your savings rate, easily review all of your finances with your financial advisor, with your partner, whatever it is, keeping a clear view of your financial health week to week and long term. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. Go check it out. And just like that, everybody, we are back here on the Locked On Padres podcast, thriving and vibing as always. The final waning moments of today's show. We got to talk about this weekend's starting pitching. We are facing the Twins. And this is one of the reasons, Karthik, why, just they've been struggling a tiny bit. You didn't win the last game of the Dodgers series, and the Mariners kind of beat you up a little bit, but they've got a series against the Twins. Then they've got the Orioles. They've got the Rockies. There's a possibility that maybe the whole point about Arráez, the lineup won't even matter with the quality of teams that they are facing. But for this weekend, probable starters are Nestor Cortes and Zebby Matthews. Not going to lie, I've never heard of Zebby Matthews in my life for the Twins. And then Nick Pivetta is slated to start on Saturday. And then Sunday, there is no starter at the moment. I imagine we might see a bullpen move. What I mean by that is they might send down Alec Jacob, who they had to bring up, someone that they maybe used a little bit over this past week because a lot of their starters didn't go deep, to bring up whoever. I don't know who it is. Maybe Randy Vasquez. I keep forgetting. Randy Vasquez has been set up 100 different times ever since the All-Star break, just up and down, up and down. Hey, a loyal soldier. We love you, Randy. But do you have any takes, Karthik, on my man Nestor Cortes? Because I'm just wondering, because he is the guy that it feels like out of all the back-end starters they have, and frankly, dare I say, because we know Dylan Cease is not his year, Michael King's hurt, and you've got Nick Pivetta. It's kind of like, oh man, is Nestor Cortes the guy that we're hoping for right now to be able to be that new hero for this team to get them over the finish line of the regular season?
Nasty Nestor, man. Come on. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be the guy. He's been inconsistent really to the time he came with the Padres. Then, the last game that he pitched, 5.1 perfect innings, getting out 16 consecutive batters before that was finally broken up. It was great to watch and see, and how well he pitched. And now he's going to get another opportunity against a Twins team that is ranked 24th, I believe, in the MLB when it comes to runs scored, both through the season and post All-Star break. So it's not like they've heated up since all the fun tidings of the All-Star break. So this is going to be another great opportunity for him to pitch another game. Yeah. So it's just it's I mean, if he pitches well, that'd be great. He was able to strike out Shohei Ohtani, got the sweeper going. I mean, if Cortes can be that guy, I mean, they brought him over to try and see. JP Sears not looking like he may be that guy that they can lean on come, playoff time as much. Maybe he, turns around and a couple starts to wrap things up and Cortes goes south. But another great chance, I think, for Cortes to really show off against, as you mentioned, a Twins team that is not that great. And maybe he really shows, his stuff, or it helps him get into, the swing of things to where, he doesn't need to be a guy that goes 5.1 perfect innings, right? Like if he gives up, 3 runs, I think, as a Padres fan, you can live with that, right? He's a back end guy of the rotation, at best. And so if he's able to consistently prove and show he can be that guy and not, give up the deep balls or, not get in trouble on the base paths and able to really, deliver some solid innings to where his pitch count's not going up, which it didn't, in that last game that he pitched. Who knows? He could. He hasn't been super consistent, up until this point, but maybe this last performance against the Dodgers is what gets him going in the right direction.
Absolutely, man. And I think that, his start against the Dodgers, I think is what we're hoping for, right? 6 innings, no runs, only 1 hit allowed. He went 5 2/3. At least what we've seen is he can go a little bit deep. He only had that one bad start this year against the Yankees when he wasn't even on the Padres. But otherwise, he's gone 4 2/3, 4 2/3, 5 2/3, and 6. And he did just come back off the IL, which I think is an important thing. Let's not even use stats for a second. I think what I'm interested in is, with really lackluster opponents for the Padres upcoming, I'm wondering if the guys like Darvish, the guys like Cease, God forbid. No, don't worry, everybody. I'm not all of a sudden believing in Dylan Cease again, but you've got Baltimore, then Colorado, then Cincinnati was a little bit tough, then Colorado again. And then you have a White Sox series, right? I'm wondering if maybe it might be good for some of these unproven guys, because we don't even have to talk about Pivetta. Nasty Nick is great. Maybe it might be nice if Darvish and Nestor could just face some not amazing opponents, not rivalry opponents like the Dodgers necessarily, and maybe just see something go through the hoop. Not to use a basketball reference on a baseball show, but just kind of have that image of like, let me go out there and just go a few innings and not get totally lit up. I think, and then maybe they carry that momentum into the postseason, right? Darvish has been a very good postseason pitcher. Nestor Cortes, his last time in the postseason was quite infamous and disastrous, but it also wasn't his fault. He didn't pitch in 2 months, and Aaron Boone decided Freddie Freeman is who you should go against first. So shout out to Aaron Boone. Just incredible decision making. I don't know what that was. I don't know if you were seeing that game. I lost my mind when I saw it. I was like, what are we doing? So you should pitch. Like, he hasn't pitched in 2 months. You're setting it's like, did he lose a fantasy football? Was this his fantasy football punishment?
It's the absolute wild card, man. They don't know what to expect.
I guess, right? But
I guess they did.
Freddie Freeman expected it, right? Like, he was like,
did.
whatever. Again, it felt like an Impractical Jokers bit. Like, hey, Aaron, in 2 months, go do that next, or maybe he lost his fantasy league and that was the punishment, is to use a guy who hasn't pitched in 3 months against a Hall of Fame first baseman. Anyway, enough about the Yankees. I think that could be a little bit of a storyline to watch with bad teams over the next month. Can we see, even JP Sears, who we haven't talked about, who's been not so great. He was acquired, I think, as just like a little bit of an innings eater, right? Because they did send away Kolek and Ryan Berger in the Freddie Freeman trade. So I don't know, man. What do you think? Is this just the month of we just get to see, maybe Dylan Cease saves his season and frankly gets himself some money back in free agency? How to get to it?
I just think the thing for Dylan Cease, man, he's got to stop giving up these home runs. I mean, it's
insane.
when he's been at his best is when he's not been, and then like you see clearly the runs just like go down, like in what he's giving up earned runs a game, and then but he keeps. Some of them have like not. It's just been like he delivers one bad ball over the plate. And then like hitters are just able to take advantage of just that one. And it's just like, it seems like for the other parts of the game, he's on and he's going and he's good. And then all of a sudden you're just like, oh no, Dylan, not again. And it's
never
tough.
The first 2 innings.
I know. Never. And he rolls through the first 2 and you're like, oh, is CC back?
2 innings, 5 strikeouts. I swear that happens every time, which is good. That's a great rate. And then 3 innings, 6 strikeouts. You're like, okay. And then all of a sudden, Randy Arozarena hits a bomb. Eugenio Suarez hits a bomb. I remember I was at the game back when I was in San Diego, back when I met you in person, the LASDS walk-off game. But remember, he gets hit on the back of the head with the pitch. Then he strikes out Lindor and Soto. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's so impressive. Like really gritty thing. Then what happens next inning? Grand slam to Mark Vientos. It's like he refuses to be normal. I just made the Impractical Jokers bit before I took my temporary hibernation from Twitter. I posted every Dylan Cease start. It feels like he's back, and then the Impractical Joker's like, "Hey, give up a crazy home run now," and then he's like, "Oh," and then he has to do it. Like I don't know what's going on there, but we'll see. I'm optimistic, but Karthik, we're about running out of time. Do you have any final thoughts or takes or vibes or just anything, whatever you want to say for the good people before we sign off on Good Friday?
Listen, man,
on Friday,
the Padres should have taken 4-6 against the Dodgers. They didn't. All right, they come out. They come out even in the NL West. Then all of a sudden they drop 2 of 3 against the Mariners. So now they're down 2 games, but they're down really 3 because they don't own the tiebreak. If this thing were to end in a tie, I really hope. And all the they got to figure it out. What are they going to do with the lineup? Moving Arráez, can they get healthy? All the questions we've brought up, they can still stay in contention for this NL West race, because if one thing's for certain, the Dodgers, I don't want to say they fumbled the bag because they're still the Dodgers and they still probably will end up winning the division if I had to guess. Let's see. It's cool that the Padres are in this position to where they're competing for the division because, based off the payroll, maybe nobody thought they would be in this chance except for maybe Mike Schilt, who said, sounds right. This is right where we should be. Let's see. Can the Padres get it done? Can they get hot? They don't have a chance to meet the Dodgers head to head anymore. Can they catch them? Can they win the NL West for the first time since 2006? Would be cool to see.
Absolutely, man. I agree. Although we're definitely not biased when we say that, but we'll have to see what happens this weekend, guys. Remember to send your questions in YouTube. I'm not on Twitter right now, so go check out YouTube. Leave comments on this video, any video. I'll find them. There's notifications that'll send me and be there for Monday when I answer some of your questions. And go check out Karthik on CBS sports for San Diego, covering all the good stuff going on down there, being a beast as always. But folks, that about does it for today's edition of the Locked On Padres podcast, the only pod that may be better than the Padres themselves. Remember to check out wherever you get your podcast from, right? Go check out all the different services, the Amazon Fire Stick, whatever. And until that next time, stay safe and, of course, stay faithful, my Fire Faithful homies. Justin Herbert is amazing. And with that, goodbye, everybody.